What's up, everybody? It's Frederick Douglass Bussey back for another episode of Breaking Orbit podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about the source, the surface, and permission to soar. For those of you who don't know, this is a podcast created around the book that I wrote several years ago called Breaking Orbit, Rip Out of the Regular by Unearthing the Power Within. And so, what we're going to be talking about today is some HIPAA violations on my own behalf. Breaking Orbit podcast starts right now. If you're watching this live on Facebook, LinkedIn, or YouTube, drop a comment below. Let us know where you're watching and what you're discovering from the conversation. I'm glad to be here with you. My name is Frederick Douglass Bussey. I'm the founder of Icon Status, and I'm the author of the book Breaking Orbit, Rip Out of the Regular by Unearthing the Power Within. I want to tell you a story today that kind of illustrates, well, hopefully not kind of, but illustrates the topic that I want to share with you today. So for the last, almost a month now, I've been dealing with a toothache. But I want to tell you how it started and how I kind of ended up here. And then I'll tie it all together with what it really means. So a couple of weeks ago, I was in Miami. I was called down there to present to this international group, a board of directors for an international medical health association. And so I'm down there, and I remember I get down there to have dinner. My flight lands that afternoon, and I get in there, check into the hotel, and I'm having dinner in the restaurant at the hotel. And I start to eat, and I notice that my jaw is kind of sore. It's kind of hurting to chew. And so I don't really think much of it. I've had some tooth pain that came and went for the past year or so, because a couple of years ago I had my wisdom teeth taken out. And when I had my wisdom teeth taken out, it healed up, took that time or whatever. And then maybe about a month later, I started having more pain. And so it would come and go. So I didn't really think much about it. So again, I'm here, I'm eating dinner, and it's happening again. I'm getting this tooth pain. And I'm just careful not to chew on my left side. I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to deal with this. It'll go away. And so I'm in and out of Miami. I actually fly back the next night. And I'm still having this issue, and I'm noticing that it's persisting. But as it persists, it's also getting worse. So it's not just when I chew. Now it's starting to get this pain all the time. It's really hurting. And I'd never really had toothaches before, other than, my wisdom teeth really hurting when they were coming in. It had really been bothering me. And I want you to remember that, because it's going to tie back to the point that I'm making later, right? So I'm going through this whole process. My head is killing me. I'm starting to get these headaches, right? And actually, that was one of the things that I didn't realize before. Before I even went to Miami, I fly down on a Tuesday night, I think it was. So like that Sunday and Monday, I started having headaches, right? I'm waking up and my head is throbbing on my left side. My shoulder is sore. I'm having back stiffness or whatever. And so, I'm getting older. I'm thinking this is just part of the process, whatever the case may be. And so as I'm going through this, I'm realizing that, the headaches are persisting. Then I'm getting this soreness or tenderness when I'm chewing food. Like if I have to bite into bread or some crackers or something like that, right? It hurts a lot. So I'm dealing with this, and it's continuing to persist. It's continuing to get worse. And so I'm starting to realize, this is a real issue, right? So I'm calling the dentist to set up an appointment. And as I call to set up the appointment, that's one of the more frustrating things, especially since COVID. Everybody's jam-packed doctor's offices, whatever the case may be. I can't get in to see them for another 2 weeks. I'm like, how am I going to deal with this pain for another 2 weeks? Right. No, actually, let me back up. I didn't deal with it immediately because as a guy, side note, men, take care of your health. As a guy, I just tended to ignore things. It'll go away. I can tough it out. I can work through it. And so I'm dealing with this. I'm dragging my feet and procrastinating because I really don't want to have to. I think the core of it was I didn't want to have to call the doctor and try and set an appointment and realize I couldn't get the relief immediately. So I dragged my feet on it. Eventually, I had my wife just, hey, look, babe, can you schedule this appointment for me, please? Because I don't even know I can't function thinking about this thing. It's not one of my core strengths, administrative tasks, even for myself, my own life. So I had my wife set up the appointment. The appointment is like a week, 10 days later. So in the meantime, I'm struggling with this thing. And so I go and get huge bottle of aspirin, acetaminophen, Tylenol. And so I'm popping a couple of these every so often. And I'm getting the relief, right? And so I'm feeling better temporarily for 4 to 6 hours at a time. But I know this is not sustainable. And I'm also having to take the pills more and more often. Another thing that happened was in the meantime, I had some oxycodone left over from when I had gotten my wisdom teeth taken out. So I've got the oxycodone there and the pain is starting to get really intense. So I took some one day and I was reminded of why I don't take drugs, because I hate that feeling. I hated the wooziness. My stomach was bothering me. I took one pill. That effect lasted me for almost 3 days. I couldn't take it. In the meantime, I'm taking the aspirin, acetaminophen. Eventually, I go and see the dentist, and he tells me, "Yeah, you've got a cavity, right?" But that's really what the issue is. The cavity is on the back molar on my left side, but it's below the surface of the bone, like it's below the gum. It's in the bone. So where it is, they can't just do what they do with it and repair it and give it a filling and stuff like that. They can't do that. They're going to have to take it out. So my dentist doesn't do that. I've got to go back to an oral surgeon. I call the place where I got my wisdom teeth taken out. They say they can't extract it for another month. Like their closest appointment is like 3-4 weeks out. Like there's no way I'm going to survive this level of pain for that long. So I ended up calling. My wife recommends that I call the dentist where my kids go, which is actually incidentally like right outside my subdivision. I call them up. They got an appointment. They can see me the next day. I go and see them. And the dentist says, okay, we can extract it or whatever the case may be. Now here's where everything really comes down to it, right? So I mentioned before that because of where the cavity was in my tooth, or is my tooth, that they couldn't necessarily do the drilling for the cavity, get the cavity out, and then take it and be able to fix it so the pain could go away right away. The first dentist wrote me a prescription for hydrocodone. I don't want to take that, right? That's for the pain. It's going to help me to feel better, but it's still gonna persist until I can get the tooth extracted. So when I went to the next dentist the following day, he tells me, okay, we're going to extract this tooth. We're going to get it all taken out. But here's the other thing that we're going to do. I'm going to give you a prescription for some antibiotics. And the antibiotics are going to help you take away the pain because they're going to kill the bacteria that is causing the pain. It's eating away at your tooth and it's eating into the nerve of your tooth and it's causing that pain. So both doctors had given me a prescription. One was to mask the pain with the hydrocodone, and the other one was to actually get to the root cause of the bacteria. Now, The bacteria is what's causing the pain. I want the pain to go away. I'm willing to do whatever it takes, yank out the tooth, whatever, cut my freaking head off at this point. I don't care. I just want to feel better. But one doctor had given me a solution for the pain, and the other one had given me a solution for the source of the pain. And ironically, looking back at it, the second dentist realized, well, you had your wisdom teeth taken out. The fact of the matter is you probably had the cavity there before, right? And because the oral surgeon didn't see it, it didn't address it, they just took out the wisdom teeth. That was probably the original source of my pain. So even though I was getting some discomfort from the wisdom teeth, they were, kind of cutting into my cheeks because I had too many teeth in my mouth. But the real source of the pain that I was feeling was coming from the cavity the whole time. So I had extracted these teeth. I had been dealing with this. I had been taking aspirin and all this pain medication, all this stuff, all this time, and come to realize that the source of the pain had been there the whole time and had gone undiagnosed and untreated. Why is this important? Because in our lives, I work with entrepreneurs and business owners, and entrepreneurship, I say, is always the greatest personal development course that you can take because it forces you to deal with whatever the issues are. Because if you're not making money, if you're not growing your business, you are going to struggle until you identify what the true source of the problem is and you understand how to deal with it. But even in our personal lives, we're all dealing with things where we are experiencing pain. We're all dealing with things where we're struggling to understand why we can't get more headway, why we can't make more, get better results, why we can't get better outcomes for ourselves and for our lives. And at the end of the day, the thing that I'm really coming to understand is that there is a source for everything. The source is the solution. And the solution has to get beneath the surface to the real core, the root of the problem, so that you can solve it and so you can soar. If you don't understand where the root of your problem is, where the root of your pain is, and why that is hindering you, why it's holding you back, right? You're not going to be able to unleash your real power in the world, to understand your true identity and what you're supposed to be up to in the world. We talk about giftedness on this show, and giftedness is your unique capacity to impact the world in a powerful and unique way, singular way, the way that only you can do it. But every one of us is struggling with some version of trauma, some version of something that is at the root, that is eating below the surface of who we are. It's at the core of who we are. And until we can live from the core of who we were meant to be, until we can live from the core of who we were designed to be, we will actually be living from something else. We'll be masking the pain that comes from that emptiness, that loneliness, that longing, that desire to be more, that eats away at us. Emptiness is its own form of pain. When people are searching for meaning in life, for significance, for validation from other people, when you're a high performer and you're constantly in pursuit of achieving more and doing more things, and you can never really hit that plateau, hit that level, that you find that perfect balance of achievement and fulfillment, right? Because as soon as you achieve, the emptiness returns. That aching, that longing, that desire to be full of purpose and doing what you were meant to do. Because that eats away at you and it chases away the beauty and the joy from life. What happens is, time and time again, we keep masking it And so just like I was taking the acetaminophen, the Tylenol, the ibuprofen to mask the pain, and yet the pain continued to increase. So the dosage of medication I would have to take, the addiction that we have, in many cases, I tell my clients, the addictions that we have are actually normal because our bodies are tuned into alleviating pain. We understand that we have to balance things out, right? And so what we do is we are drawn into those things that give us those dopamine hits, those things that make us feel good in the moment, that alleviate that pain. And the greater the pain, the greater the need to cope. But coping mechanisms are not what we're designed for. Coping mechanisms are the things that keep us stuck. People talk about comfort zones and getting out of your comfort zone. And what I really call those are discomfort zones. We get acclimated to being in points or statuses of discomfort. That becomes our status quo. That becomes our standard operating procedure. Many people are in toxic relationships. They are in toxic partnerships in their businesses. They are in holding patterns or in doom spirals in their lives because they have only learned how to cope. And the coping can only work for so long before it starts to take a toll on you and before you start to erode from the inside out. When I was dealing with the tooth pain, the core of it was a cavity. There's bacteria in there that is eating away at it. It's not sexy to talk about, but it's not sexy to go through life in the way that where most of us are going through it. Even those of us who feel like we are super successful at a high level. Like when I went to the dentist gave me a clean bill of health on my teeth. He said, teeth look great. You haven't, and I hadn't done a great job, I thought of, in a track record of going to the dentist. But he said, your teeth are fine, but you got a cavity. Even if you take care of yourself, right? I have a friend who's a dentist I was telling him about this issue, and he was talking about the fact that he cracked a tooth on a crouton eating a salad, right? He's a dentist with all the capabilities, but yet and still, he cracked a tooth and he's going to have to get that extracted because there's no such thing as avoiding entropy. Chaos will ensue wherever you are. That's the world that we live in. And despite all the intention that we apply to our lives, it's going to happen. But the one thing that we have to balance it all out and really set us above and another level is our ability to tap into our gift, to tap into the core DNA of who we are and to be able to soar. And to give ourselves permission to set ourselves free from the pain truly means finding the source of the pain, going beneath the surface, rooting that out, and enhancing the core of who we are. So we are now stronger and more equipped to soar, not just to survive, but to thrive, to soar, not just to fly, right? Because flight can exist on a very low level. You can fly 1 foot above the ground, but you're always in danger of hitting whatever is low below you, right? And when we talk about breaking orbit, right? Orbiting the Earth means that you are in a holding pattern around the Earth. And so even though you can get high in terms of altitude, you can get high in terms of your own personal success or your career success or your business success, even though you can orbit at a high altitude, you're still going in circles. And the point that I will make over and over again on this podcast is that the point of our lives is not to go in circles. It's to soar. Our trajectory is higher. Our trajectory is outward and upward. Our trajectory is about being able to soar, to explore the deepest reaches of the universe, our inner universe, what we're capable of, the things that we can create as well. Yeah, healing is a process, Emmanuel. Healing is a process that begins when we start to understand that we go beneath the surface. And before we can soar, we have to heal. Before we can fly, we have to fix what is broken. And not what is broken about us, what is broken within us. Whether it's our thinking, whether it's our doing, it all starts with understanding who we really are and who we were meant to be. Your gift is your permission to soar. Discover your gift, you will discover your ability to break orbit. And it all starts with finding the source, going beneath the surface, and giving yourself permission to soar. Hopefully that's helpful for you. Let me know in the comments what your thoughts are. Is this valuable for you? Where do you need to go beneath the surface to find permission to succeed at the highest level, permission to soar? Hopefully that's been helpful for you. If you would like more information about how to get a copy of the book, it's available on Amazon. Breaking Orbit, Rip Out of the Regular by Unearthing the Power Within, by yours truly, Frederick Douglass Bussey. If you would like to understand how you can begin to master your own gift as an entrepreneur, as a leader, to be able to soar above and beyond in your personal life, in your professional life, in every aspect of the game, I encourage you to reach out, send me a message, drop a comment below. Let us be able to support you if that's what you're up to. If that's the game that you want to play. Let us help support you in being able to be all that you were created to be. This has been another edition of Breaking Orbit Podcast. I am your host, Frederick Douglass Bussey. As always, ever forward.